Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our match preview for Newcastle United v Aston Villa on Boxing Day. If you are new to our channel, make sure you are subscribing, smash the likes and comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know a lot of Newcastle fans generally tune in when we do these previews and especially the reactions because the last two games have been absolutely shocking results for Villa. So, comment your thoughts on everything that we discuss in this episode as well. So Villa coming off the back of a massive win against Manchester City. Hannah, you were there. So talk to me about how you were feeling during Saturday after the game and sort of how you're feeling now reflecting on the win.
Well, in the build-up to that game, I'd been speaking in the week about how it was the first time kind of going into a game against Man City that I was feeling a little bit quietly confident, which is normally like a dangerous feeling. But I think everyone was sort of in an agreement that it's a great time to play Man City at the moment because they're just nothing like they have been in the last even 10 years. So going into the game was quietly confident, and I felt like if we executed our game plan, if we played how Emery wanted us to play, that we were going to win. And I think the midfield, as it was in last season's home fixture, was going to be crucial. So I was really pleased to see the lineup that we had when that was announced just over an hour before kickoff. And as soon as I saw that, Onana and Kamara in that sort of double pivot, I was like, yeah, I'm right up for this. And I thought it was an excellent game. It was one of those games that I left, and it wasn't just that we'd won. It was like I actually really enjoyed watching Villa play on Saturday. I thought it was a real masterclass of what Unai Emery tries to do with this Aston Villa team. Not always massive on possession, but really almost like a passionate performance. And I do feel like we get a lot of those in the bigger games. We see it in the Champions League and a lot of the bigger games where we really tend to show up. I thought it was a really good game. That midfield, 4 or 5 even, going all the way back to Kamara through to like Rodgers. I thought it was brilliant. We didn't give them a second to breathe. I thought there was so much energy, which is something I think we've really missed a lot of this season. The energy levels were brilliant, and the work rate was excellent again, even up to John Duran, the sliding in for challenges, which we know he likes to do. I just loved seeing that. The battle between Cash and Grealish was obviously a really good one to watch. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And leaving the ground, I was absolutely buzzing. I think the only thing obviously is dampened by conceding a flipping goal again, which we just can't seem to get away from. I mean, I watched it back. It felt a little bit unfortunate. Luka Dean sort of trips over himself. But I mean, Martinez's reaction to conceding that goal was how I felt. It was just like, it was a near perfect performance. So we were just missing that final piece, but in general, feeling really good. I think it's put us in such a nice position before Christmas because I think a lot of the players, like McGinn had said, it was an easy game to slip up in because you go into it thinking Man City, they're in bad form, we'll beat them. But those are the types of games that you then can't be the team that fixes another team's form. So I'm really glad that we put that to bed. Go into Christmas really positive because the next two are going to be really tricky, and January is obviously really busy. So I think getting those points and sorting out the home form as well is really important. So in a very good mood going into Boxing Day, which I'm sure is going to be a very tasty fixture.
Yeah, a couple of things that I want to touch on that you've mentioned is that how enjoyable it was to watch Villa on Saturday. It was just fun to watch. It was just, not only was it fun, but it was just enjoyable. It was really good to see how we played. And I think sometimes when you're at the game, it can feel a bit intense and you can sort of look at the clock and think, oh God, we got like 20 minutes to go and we're 2-0 up or whatever. But yeah, it was just a really good performance. And I think when Villa click and start playing well, and we know what we're about, we know how we want to play, we know where players should be on the pitch, we know the right areas that we want to get into. And when you start seeing that, it starts to breed confidence. Like when, I think there was that first moment when Duran was through on goal and you're thinking, God, like, we must have worked all week to get into that position, and we've been able to do it with inside a minute, and that just gave me with confidence that we were going to be able to do that and exploit them again. So yeah, I think it's massive, and I think another thing that you've sort of touched on is that the mentality of the players to come through this mini little blip that we had, to come through it, to ride it out, and then still maintain how we want to play and those confident levels. Because you can look at a team like Man City, who have won 4 Premier League titles in a row. Compare that to now how bad forms hit them and how fragile they are and how their belief is. So fair play to the players for coming out of that on the other side. Justin, you weren't at the game because you were very busy at work, your busy time of year. So, but you did manage to watch the game, so you can't have been that busy.
Well, there's always time to watch the game. If you can't go, you've got to watch it. If you can't watch it, have it on the radio. There's never a time I'll ever not at least hear the game. Magnificent performance, wasn't it? I won't go on too much about individuals and because I think it's been said, outstanding from most of the team, if not all of them, to be honest. I think everybody did their job. Little special mention for Matty Cash. I mentioned it at half time. I think I tweeted it out and I got a little bit stick saying, excellent. All right, it wasn't the best game he's ever played, but I think he did a really good job on Jack. And, he riled him early. You could tell he was after him from minute one. And I think it worked a treat. Jack lost his head a little bit, didn't he? I think mainly from the way Cash dealt with him. And I'm all for that, to be honest. The one big takeaway for me is something that we spoke about on this. I think we spoke about in the preview, Luke, and we spoke about it before we come on. Playing that midfield 4, I've been crying out for it for a while now. And I think with the lack of form of our attacking players throughout most of the start of the season, with Bailey not being in form, McGinn in and out, Rodgers dropped off a bit. I think that's for me, it's our best 11. I love, Onana came in essentially as the Louise replacement. I know it's a squad game, but he was basically a lot of fun. And they went specifically for Onana. I'm sure they could have found a similar type of play. For the money we spent on Onana, you could have probably found something similar to Louise if that's the way he wanted to go. He didn't. He wanted a player of Onana's, style and physicality. You wanted something a bit different to throw in the middle of the park. So to play in games like this where you want to dominate that midfield. And it was magnificent to see finally Kamara and Onana in that double pivot, which then in turn releases Tielemans into what I think is his best position, the 8-10 sort of position. We saw how good he was. The bloke is 27 years of age on a free transfer, and he was exceptional, pulling the strings. And you throw McGinn into the 4, who's just great. We love what John McGinn brings to this team. He's the captain. He leads from the front. He never stops running. He keeps going all the time, never moans, always encourages. And then you leave the 2 lads to do the damage up top, Rodgers and Duran, 22 and 21 years of age, these 2. They've got the whole of the footballing future ahead of them. The sky's the limit for the pair of them. So if you can find what we have done now, a really, really strong base. Yes, defensively it's not perfect. We still conceded, like Alice said, that daft goal at the end. But, at the start of the season, we were winning games even though we were conceding because we were good offensively. And then that suddenly dropped off. Our offensive, form dropped away and then we started struggling a little bit. So I think all in all, it was the perfect performance, the perfect time, and we go into next year in considering the ups and downs we've had, 5th in the league and 5th in the Champions League. With the league as it is, we're in an absolutely brilliant position now to kick on and have a fantastic end to the season.
Yeah, I agree, and that leads me on to sort of like my next point, and it's a big thing that I want us to try and really hone in and get better at now, and it's our away form. And if you look at the games that we've lost recently, and it's the away form against some of the top sides as well. And, we can't play some of them because we've already played them. So, we've lost to Liverpool, we've lost to Spurs, we've lost to Chelsea, we've lost to Forest. And I really want to see us hone in now and start to be very strong and solid away from home and keep those points just ticking over. Like if you can't win, just don't lose. And I think just getting those away points every now and again, and backing it up with home wins, it can see us in a really good position. And we spoke about this, a couple of weeks ago before the Brentford and the Southampton game, that we were around mid-table within the home form. And if we actually have a look now at the Premier League table, we're in 4th position now for our home form. And, we level on points with Arsenal for our form at home, which I think is brilliant. And then now we start to have a look at the away form, and we're in 11th place. We've lost our last 4 away games. So that's massively got to improve. We need to climb that table, and then you'll sort of get a net position of, probably where you're going to kind of be. And I think this is a difficult game that's coming up, because St. James's Park is like, it's so intense. I mean, I was there for the last couple of games there, and once it gets going and it gets rocking and that intensity gets a hold of you, you can feel like shrinking a little bit. I mean, I've stood up there, that eye up, and I felt like, oh my God, like this place is mental. So we've got to really make sure that it's a very good Aston Villa that are rocking up, especially on Boxing Day. But Hannah, sort of, what do you want to see from the away form?
I think we need to be hard to beat. I think we're conceding too many goals. We know that. And that's not an overnight fix, and it's not a quick fix, but I think we need to be harder to beat. Like you've touched on, Luke, at the start of the season, I think the amount of goals we were scoring was sort of papering over the cracks of how poor we've been defensively, because we're just so leaky. And I think away from home, you just don't lose, and you make yourselves hard to beat. I don't expect us to go and win away every other week, but I think we definitely need to sort of adjust the way we approach games away from home, because when we are at Villa Park, I think obviously it's a totally different tactical battle, isn't it? You're kind of going into it knowing that you've got some kind of advantage, and we know we're going to try and have more of the ball. We're going to try and dictate play. But when we're playing away from home, Unai Emery will know this, that we can't always play the way that we want to play. And I remember when he first came in, and we had a couple of away performances that were just class. Like I think we played Brighton away in one of Unai's first games, and we got like a 2-1 win. And it was just like a proper away performance where you grind it out. The goals don't have to be brilliant. It's just bodies on the line type football. I think that's what we need to get back to, because we saw on Saturday that we can at home play some lovely stuff, and we can be brilliant in front of goal, and we can create so many chances, and we can really, dictate the midfield. But we're not going to always have that luxury, and I don't think we're going to have that luxury at St. James's. It is a fortress, whether we like it or not. It's somewhere that Villa haven't had much success in recent years. We've had very few victories there, very few points in general, especially in the Premier League. So I think the players will know that this is going to be a really, really difficult battle, particularly with Newcastle's form also picking up around the same time that ours has. So I think it will be very apparent that we've got to go into this game almost with the just don't lose mentality, which isn't ideal, but I think it's necessary at the moment.
Yeah, I'm fully with you. And Justin, you sort of alluded to where we sort of are and where we sort of mixing at the minute. And I think I'm with you, bang on it, where we've played Champions League, we've played Premier League games, we're in 6th place currently. If you look at the forms, that's 3 wins out of 5. Nobody below us has got form as good as that, I don't think. So that's pretty pleasing to see. And the teams above us have sort of got better form than us. So it shows that we've been getting better in the last couple of games as well. Newcastle's form sort of, if you look at where they are, their home form, they're currently 8th. And in the away table, they're currently 6th. So do you sort of see a little bit of because I see a little bit of similarity between the Newcastle game and the Forest game, of how energy and a crowd can drag a team back into a game. And that's something that I think we've really got to make sure doesn't happen on Boxing Day.
Yeah, we're going to face a very different type of game. I was at Forest, and it's a very tight stadium, isn't it? And the fans, they can be very loud, and we allowed them back into it at the end, and the atmosphere just went through the roof. And I think when they went 1-1, I turned to my nephew who I'd gone with, and I said, just feels like they're going to get the winner here. You know, they had all the momentum in the game. Newcastle's a similar kind of thing, but on sort of an XL state. It's bigger, isn't it? And I think if you let them get ahead of you and get on top of you, then that crowd is very, very hard to get dampened down. And I always think if you get to half time at 0-0 away in any competition, that's fantastic for me. I'll take 0-0 away from home at half time in any single game away, because at that point then you're totally in the game, you're really into it, and you've asked enough questions of them for them to go in half time. Oh crikey, we're in a game here. So I think it's about starting well, starting solidly, and then trying to build momentum into the game. We're coming off probably our best performance of the season, arguably. Probably Bayern Munich was the only other one really equivalent for a full 90. So yeah, we're going to it in good spirits. We're going to it sort of, I'm going to say, he's been a bit of a tinkerman this season, hasn't he, Emery? He's trying to sort of find his way, and I understand why he's doing it. He's trying to, freshen the squad up and keep everybody on the toes and utilise every sort of asset he's got. But I think possibly for one of the first times in a very long time, we could be unchanged, which doesn't happen very often. And I think that will help us. Obviously Christmas is coming around the corner. We've got lots and lots of games, so that might be the only reason he might tinker with it a little bit. But I always fancy Villa, don't I? What am I saying? It doesn't matter where we go, I fancy us. And why not? Why not come off the back of that performance? They're having a very similar season to us. We've had a very similar trajectory, really, both clubs over the last 5 seasons. They sort of hit Champions League the year before we did and fell away. I don't see us falling away like they have. But, we've both got similar problems. Can't buy who we want to buy, can't invest what we want to invest. So we're very similar sized clubs at the moment. So it always is a very interesting game against Newcastle. Both got strikers in form. It's going to be a tasty game, isn't it? It's going to be a really tasty game.
Yeah, you've just undersold the predicted lineup by saying it might be unchanged.
Sorry.
So,
but it might not be.
Stick around, guys. Tomorrow, predicted lineup is out. So, Justin's tired. He's been working all weekend. He's a little bit confused. But no, Newcastle. We're kind of PSR brothers at the minute, aren't we? We are both trying to do the exact same things, and we pretty much are doing the same things. We've got the same kit. We've got the same sort of things off field that we're trying to do, hospitality and all these different venues, etc., that we're currently building. So I think there are massive similarities there, and I just think it's both clubs are trying to work within PSR. And I think, how bad is it that both clubs managed to get into the Champions League, and the following season they're selling assets, they're selling Minter, they're selling Anderson, we're selling Louise, we're selling Diaby. It's just not a good look for aspiring teams that want to progress and do well, that this is what you're having to do. And I imagine both sets of fans are very frustrated, but we are there, we're doing really well. Newcastle, they've had some poor results, and they're probably not doing as well as what I thought they would do this season, because, they've got no European football. Their injuries look better than what they did last season. And Aston Villa are still managing Champions League football, and we're currently still above them. And I just think that shows how well that we're actually doing. And I think Newcastle's form has picked up slightly. It looks like they're going to be in and around us pretty much all season. They've got some brilliant players. I mean, Isak is just absolutely unbelievable. What a player he is. And, he's in red hot form at the minute as well. So I think we're two clubs that are we're trying to progress. We're trying to show ambition. We're trying to succeed. And, it feels like there's sort of like we're just trying to, we've got a massive hammer, and we're just trying to break through different barriers to try and get to where we want to go. So, I feel like Villa are having to try really hard, and looking at Newcastle as well, I feel they're trying to do exactly what we're trying to do as well, really. So, Hannah, what have you made of Newcastle this season?
Yeah, I think they, like we say, have had a similar-ish start to the season. Obviously, at the minute, we're slightly better off points-wise, but only just lots of up and down performances, up and down results, dropping points to teams that you think you're gonna win against. So I think, like Villa, the Newcastle fans have some frustration around how the season has gone, like we say, particularly with them not being any European competition. But like I touched on earlier, the form is sort of turning around. You've got Isak that's come back from a little injury and is firing at completely the wrong time for Villa fans. So I think that's a massive bonus. I think if you've got a real red hot striker, you're gonna be picking up points no matter what. I think it's a similar story of just conceding a lot of goals. I think they've scored a ton in the last sort of 10 games, so real high scoring side. But yeah, can't really keep a clean sheet. Obviously, have managed against a couple of poor oppositions to do so, but in general, do concede a lot of goals. I think they've got a decent squad. We've touched on PSR probably when they had their Saudi takeover, anticipated more investment in the team than they have had. But it just hasn't come to fruition because of PSR. We're in a similar position of not really being able to spend. So their team this season is pretty similar to what they had last year, which at points they struggled with. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they adapt with that. But yeah, I think they're a good side. I think there are a lot of similarities there. I would like to think from a broader perspective, Villa sort of have the upper hand in terms of management. No disrespect to Eddie Howe, I think he's done a wonderful job there, but I think Emery tactically has a little bit more nous. I think Tonali again is a player that's hitting form. Kind of came back from his ban and has struggled for minutes for one reason or another. But the last couple of games that I've watched of theirs, he's been decent. Scored a couple, I think, in the League Cup, which they're obviously now still in. So they're still in a cup competition. So they have still got a lot going for them. I think their fans will be optimistic. My boyfriend is a Newcastle fan, so I think this could potentially ruin our Christmas. Not looking forward to that, but he would probably want me to come on here and sing some Newcastle praises. Obviously, I think there's always been this weird rivalry, I think, since the Championship days. But I think it comes from a place of Villa and Newcastle, like we say, being on a very, very similar vibe, very similar trajectory. And I think in general, both very attacking teams. Like we will probably be entertained on Boxing Day. I think it's going to be a game that Eddie Howe will see as a great opportunity for Newcastle to really build a winning run because they know that they can beat us. I think what we really need to channel is that performance we had in Emery's first season. Was it 3 or 4-0 at home at Villa Park? We need to sort of channel that performance. I think it was a game. I don't know if Dan Burn was at left back or something, but I remember John McGinn being on Dan Burn the whole game and it was driving him mental. So yeah, I think we need to have some of that energy, just really cause them some problems because they can be unsettled. I think they sometimes struggle defensively, but also as a unit, sometimes I think that they can be slightly naive defensively. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting game, but I'm hoping for my sake and my relationship that Villa win.
Yeah, me too. I hope for that as well. So yeah, we've touched on how difficult a game it's going to be. Justin, you can sort of end the show off with, how you want to end it. But how do you feel like Villa win this game?
John Duran. Happy Christmas. No. Yeah, I think we've got to be solid, haven't we? I think we can see because I just think that's what we do at the moment. We can see. I think we've got to score more than them. We're in that sort of reign of form at the moment. midfield is where we win the game. You know, like Hannah's touched on, Tonali's comeback's been really good. Guimaraes is very good. Willett played at the weekend in that 4-0 win away at Ipswich, which, as we know, it's a tough place to go. You know, they're no pushovers, so that was a very good win. You've got to keep Isak quiet, basically. You know, you've got to make sure that you are on it at the back. He's going to get chances. We need a bit of luck. We need Martinez to play well. And then we need the two up top to you know, when we do get a chance, they've got to take it, haven't they? You know, we might not get that many chances. So it's pretty basic, really. Keep a clean sheet and make sure you take your chances up top. But we've got players that are in form. We've got midfield that's firing. You know, Kamara and Anana is the bedrock of the team now for me. I'll just keep playing them two now and hope that they are good enough to keep Newcastle at bay.
Yeah, I think physicality is key, especially in the middle of the park. In this game, just like it was Man City. So let's do our score predictions then. I feel like this is going to be a bit of a mad one. And I think it's going to be 3-2. But I don't know which way. I think it's going to be 3-2. So I'm saying 3-2 either way. Hannah?
Oh, God. I see it being high scoring. I don't know if I said that at the start of the episode, but I see goals in this game. We will 100% concede. As much as I was on about be hard to be away from home, all this, I don't see this being that type of game. So I'm going to go for a 2-2. I always seem to go for a 2-2 when I'm unsure, but I do think there'll be goals. I think it will be interesting to see the lineup, which we'll obviously go into separately. But yeah, let's see how we go. And I don't know how confident I feel about a win at St James's yet, but I'd take a point. I would take a point, 100%.
I'd snap your hand off for a point. I think a point and then follow it up with 2 home games. We're in a really good position going into the new year. So, Justin, your score prediction, please.
I'm with you, Pay. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this. I don't know whether it's just because I've just seen the the Liverpool Tottenham game, but decided to go for a mad one. 4-2 Villa.
Love it. Right. He made me choke. Up the Villa, everyone. Let's hope that comes in then. So what we're going to do, we'll do predicted lineup tomorrow. Christmas Day, we've got the Christmas special. So make sure you tune in for that then. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.